Mama was a mutt, Daddy was one too. Me, I'm a little bit of everything, everything that I use. One day I'm walking.
Welcome to Thursday in the Doghouse. This is Karen Fazio, the Dog Super Nanny, and we are on the phone with Susan Scelzi. And Susan Scelzi owns the Blue Ribbon Dog Training School in Bohemia, New York. She's a specialist in obedience, agility, rally, and has over 20 years' experience in dog training. And this morning we're going to be talking to her about nose work. I wanted to make a little bit of an announcement about Thursday in the Doghouse. For those of you who have been listening each week, my co-host, I've been co-hosting the show with Rini Premeza for quite a while. Rini is recovering from surgery, and during her recovery, she is leaving our show. Hopefully she will be, and I've talked to her, and she would love to come back on as a guest, but she is no longer going to be hosting the show with me. And we're going to have a different name, too, for the show. And I think you guys have all been familiar with me, and we've become friends, and I've decided that we're just going to call it the Dog Super Nanny Show. So I hope you listen in and learn a lot. And, the show is not going to really be changing format. We're going to still be speaking about everything dog. We're going to be talking about training. We're going to be talking about nutrition. We're going to be talking about behavioral problems and raising puppies. And we're still going to be interviewing fabulous, intelligent, educated people in the dog training field, such as veterinarians, trainers, nutritionists, and more. We're going to take a quick break right now so that I could share some of the services that I offer in the Keyport, New Jersey area and in central New Jersey. And when we return, we'll be speaking with Susan Scelzi.
This is 1360 AM WNJC, Washington Township, Philadelphia. Philadelphia's Renaissance radio station. Brought to you from Forsyth Broadcasting. Or listen to us at WNJC1360.com.
Are you the owner of a fearful or aggressive dog and don't know where to turn? Have you called other trainers and they've turned you down because they don't want to deal with an aggression case? Then My Best Friend Dog Training and its special service, the Dog Super Nanny, is maybe just what you're looking for. We do in-home private consultations. We're located in Keyport, New Jersey, and we do travel. Our phone number is 732-533-9376, and our website is mybestfrienddogSchool.com. We are positive-based trainers and don't use physical punishment or fear as a way to motivate your dog. We use games and fun as a way to do that, and we also help you during the whole process. So give us a call. We're here for you. 732-533-9376.
Welcome back to Thursday in the Doghouse, and now it's going to be called the Dog Super Nanny from now on. I am the Dog Super Nanny. My name is Karen Fazio. I am your host, and today on the phone we're going to be speaking with Susan Scelzi. Susan is the owner of Blue Ribbon Dog Training School in Bohemia, New York. She's an obedience, agility, and rally expert, and she is going to be talking to us today about a wonderful game and training style. It's called nose work, and I want, of course, I'd love to just sit there and talk by myself, Susan, but I want you to explain to our audience what is nose work actually, because sometimes you'll bring that up and they're like, "What's that?"
Right.
To a client. So why don't you explain that whole concept to everybody?
Okay, the whole concept started in about 2008 in California. The three founders, Ron, Jill, and Amy, they are bomb detection and drug dog trainers.
Okay.
And they also do pet training, and they do a lot of shelter work.
Mm-hmm.
They and these bomb dogs and these drug dogs are very high drive dogs. And they can be very reactive dogs sometimes.
Now, could they be driven by food? I mean, could you train a dog to do nose work that's maybe obsessed with food? Say if you want to train them to do drug work?
Sure. That's what we actually use. We start with food and we move on. But these people wanted to find things to do with reactive dogs and something to make the shelter dogs, to give the shelter dogs more mental stimulation. You know, because the dog that's quiet in the shelter is usually the dog that gets adopted, not the dog that's throwing himself at the gate, let me out, let me out. And they needed something that the volunteers could do easy without a lot of training. So they came up with this modified scent bomb detection sport. They called it nose work. It's very simple. It's extremely cheap to start. You start with old boxes. Well, they could be new boxes, but basically you start with just empty boxes and some really good smelly food, dog food, whatever your dog really likes.
Okay.
And you just put out a whole bunch of boxes, and you put some food in one or two of the boxes. Show the dog first, when you first start, show the dog that the food is actually in the box, and let them go find it. Initially, they're not using their nose. But then you start not hiding the food, but just not letting them see where you put the food. So then they actually have to, they see the boxes out there. They know there's food in them, so then they have to go searching for it. So that's when they start using their nose. And it's very interesting because with most dogs, doesn't even have to be a bulldog, you can hear the change in their breathing. As soon as they switch from their eyes to their nose, their breathing changes completely. And you'll be able to hear when they're working, if the room is quiet
What
enough.
is the breathing like? I mean, can you hear it? I mean, is it something that you can detect quickly? And what would that be?
They start puffing sometimes. They're breathing much heavier, but they're still breathing through their nose. It's not like they're panting, but you can actually hear. Some dogs sound like freight trains.
I have a question for you. This is a personal thing. My sister has been fostering this German Shepherd now since September. Great dog. Very driven dog. He loves food, and he really loves attention. That's like his thing. But he was owned by a police officer, and his horrible hip dysplasia. And I don't know if this dog had been entered into a program and flunked out because of his hips or whatever. But whenever you walk this dog, we don't know anything about this dog's past, by the way, other than he was owned by a cop.
Okay.
Whenever we walk this dog past the car, the first thing he does is go to each wheel well.
Oh, that sounds, he has some detection training.
So I'm wondering, how can I capitalize on that? If I have a dog like that, I mean, would I use food? Would I use if you're teaching a dog drug detection, how do you get drugs?
Okay, right.
It's you know what I mean? Like, do you have to go to a special school or something like that?
You're not allowed to have drugs. So this was the legal way of teaching the dogs to learn how to sniff. Once we start with the food. Once we get them really searching for the food, and you can hide it in a corner, you can hide, we move out of boxes and we move into things. Pocketbooks, backpacks, strange-looking boxes, things like that.
Right.
Then once they're really psyched up and hunting, then we pair the food with an odor. And there's 3 official odors, and it's clove, anise, and birch.
Clove and birch? Why are those 2 things?
Birch is, it's sweet birch. It's an essential oil, and it kind of smells, if you let people smell it, depending on where they're coming from, they say wintergreen, Bengay, Lifesavers. That's what it smells like, root beer.
And what about clove? Why do you use these 2 things?
We use the 3 of them because they're essential oils. They're not, clove has presented a few problems because people use clove in dog shampoos and stuff, but they're not found in perfumes. They're not found. You would have to actually purchase sweet birch and put it on a Q-tip and teach your dog to smell that.
Now,
it's not
but why
something
would
that
you
they're
use that? I mean, does that lead to drug detection or bomb
No,
detection?
we're not doing we're not doing drug detection. We're not doing drug detection. We're not doing bomb detection. We're just doing a sport.
Oh, okay.
And the sport, we're not going to, the one of the sentences that everybody says to say at the beginning, this is not, you're going to teach your dog to do nose work. You are not going to find drugs in your child's, you're not going to find drugs in your child's bedroom. It's not going to happen. This is just a fun sport. We're just doing this. Well, now we're doing competitions, of course, because once you get people involved in something, they always have to do competitions. But it's a very, very fast-growing sport. I think I'm jumping around a little bit. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Jump around. It's fine.
Once we get the dogs hunting for the food, then we pair. We take the food that they've been hunting for and pair it with, for the first level, Q-tips that have been scented with the birch, with the sweet birch.
Now, what do you do? Do you soak the Q-tip, or do you just rub it on the cap?
You take a bunch of. No, you can do that too, if you don't like the cat.
No, the cap. The cap of
the cap. I'm sorry. I thought you said the cat.
Although that would be an interesting sport.
Yes, it would be.
I don't think the cats would like it.
That would be. You know what? That would be a great sport because that would be like a combination lure coursing and nose work.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. No, we don't use the cat. We cut up a bunch of Q-tips so that there's only the fluffy part on one side. Put them in a jar. Put a couple of drops of birch oil in there, and let them sit for a little while. Shake them up. Let them sit, and believe me, if you can smell the birch oil, it's almost too strong for the dog.
Oh, okay.
All right? The dog's nose is so, they can smell the teeny tiniest, it's incredible. It is
they could smell like
with this.
a cap of bleach in like 20 million gallons of water or something that. I mean, their scent detection
they have
amazing.
cadaver dogs. They have cadaver dogs that go out in a boat and find people under the water.
Wow.
That just absolutely blows my mind. That you can row this dog across the lake and he'll indicate to you that right down below us or coming up there's something that you need to investigate.
Wow.
So
that's really interesting.
So we take these Q-tips then we would hide them. With the food first, and then we slowly reduce the food, and then once the dog is searching for the Q-tip only, then you put it wherever you want. Competition doesn't go above 4 feet, but you can stick it in a door, you can stick it in a drawer.
Okay. So what do you mean above 4 feet, meaning it can't be 4 feet above the dog's head?
Well, it can't be 4 feet off the ground.
Okay.
Because 4 feet off my dog's head would be the ceiling.
Right. Okay.
Which he'd probably find it, but wouldn't be fair for my associate's dog, who is a King Charles.
Right.
So
can I ask you something? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'm notorious for cutting people off.
That's okay.
If you have a dog that doesn't get along with other dogs, do you first start training the dog by itself with a handler, or?
Well, sorry, I should have.
Like, how do you start to get them to compete with other dogs?
This sport, they have made it super safe for reactive dogs.
Mm-hmm.
There's one dog working on the floor at all times. If the dog can be crated, the rest of the dogs are crated. If the dog can't be crated in a room, then the dog is outside in the car or crated, out in another room. Once the competitions start, they have this elaborate setup of bringing one dog in and one dog out that the dogs never see each other.
Wow, that's great.
So it's the dog wears a red bandana, a reactive dog wears a red bandana. We've actually modified that. Now the person wears the red bandana.
Oh, I guess because they're taller, you could see them, right?
Because it's easier. Yes, it's much easier to see the person with the red bandana than, and we joke, we now have reactive handler bandanas instead of reactive dog bandanas. They're actually embroidered with reactive handler. So,
in a sense of mileage, how far is Bohemia, New York, from say Central New Jersey? Like, what would you say? How long a drive is it?
What's Central New Jersey? I was in Lebanon over the weekend.
Okay.
For a trial.
All right.
It was 2 hours.
That's 2 hours. So that's like that's northern New Jersey, folks.
Okay.
That's up over the Raritan. It's about an hour north of the Raritan toll plaza.
Okay.
So if you're living in Sewell,
I'm going to tell you that there are tons of, not tons. There are many now certified nosework people in New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Upper New York. There's probably one. I would love everyone to come to me, but first of all, I don't have enough time in my life, and second of all, I don't want people traveling 3 hours just for an hour class.
Right.
So.
But you know what? A lot of our listeners are listening online.
Yeah. Okay.
And we have a lot of people that are all around the country, northern New Jersey, and in different states and stuff, that tune in just to listen to the show.
Well, can I give you just a little? I have some facts here that just came out the other day. Now, remember, I told you this sport only started in 2008.
Right.
Basically, they started giving classes in California. In 2009, they had their first set of trials, and they had 7 trials, total of 7 trials all year in California only in 2009. Okay. In 2010, they had a total of 6 trials only in California. In 2011, they had 43 trials in California.
Wow, that grew exponentially, huh?
Yes. 2010, they had 43 trials. 2011, they had 43 trials in 7 different states.
Wow.
California, Colorado, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, and Washington.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And then in 2012, there's a total of 80 trials in 13 different states.
Wow, this is really
Alaska,
growing fast.
Alabama were added, Illinois, Maryland, Virginia, and Wisconsin.
Wow.
And for 2013, of course, there's not a total yet for 2013, but there's 5 more states added that are going to have trials. So it's Florida, Missouri, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing my abbreviations here. Pennsylvania and South Carolina.
Wow.
So
hey, Susan, could you give our audience your website?
Sure.
Like if they want to learn more about it?
Sure. My website is www.blueribbondogschool.com.
Okay, so that's www.blueribbondogschool.com.
Oh, okay. It's not my dogs. It's my son.
Oh. Hey,
wrestling in the kitchen is dangerous.
Now, how does one go about finding a nosework class?
The nosework, you can go to their national website. You can either do canine fun nosework. If you Google that.
Is that K and 9, or is it actually the word spelled out?
No, I'm sorry. It's a K and a 9. It's a letter K and then the number 9. Nosework, fun nosework, and that will take you to the training site. And then there's an official nosework site, which is www.nacsw.com.
NACSW.com?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're looking for classes in nosework, you want to learn a little bit more about it, Susan was just telling us that there's 2 groups that basically cover the country. One is K9, it's K and 9, the letter K and the number 9, funnosework.com. That's K9 funnosework.com. And the other one is N as in Nancy, A as in Apple, C as in carrot, S as in Sam, W.com. That's NACSW.com. And if you go to those websites, you can learn a little bit more about nosework. Susan, is there like a story? Do you have? Could you share with us maybe an example of these high drive dogs that seem to be so inappropriate for adoption, inappropriate for socializing with other dogs, that excelled in this, and what was the effect on its behavior overall?
Oh, sure. I've had several dogs, reactive dogs, that once we started the nose work, they, before we started, they couldn't be crated in the room. They just
really?
they just barked and screamed and tried to just kill everybody that was walking past the crate and stuff like that. Even covering it, the dogs would know that people were walking past the crate.
Right.
And also, I had one gentleman who has a shelter dog, who, he knew she's a pit bull mix. Not that it matters. I mean, we've had reactive German Shepherds and golden retrievers. But, he was very aware of his dog's problems. So he would not take her off leash. Usually we do it off leash.
Okay.
Like I said, all the other dogs are crated, so there's no other dogs around. But he still didn't want her running off and going to the other dogs. So he would keep her on leash, which was fine. Sometimes the dogs need to be on leash.
Okay.
And about, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 weeks into doing this, I said to him, take her off leash. And he said to me, no. I said, take her off leash. And he looked at me and I said, just take her off leash. And he took her off leash and she searched the area and, found her food and stood there and waited for him to come and get her. And he looked at me and he said, I can't believe it. I said, well, believe it. She's focused on the food now. She's focused on the game. She doesn't care about the other dogs around her.
Right. Now, can you, I know that you're using food, but if a dog's not really food motivated, but it loves toys, can you do the same process with a toy?
Yes, you can use toys too. You can use toys also.
Okay.
Toys is just, to me, I think it's a little bit harder because unless the dog just likes to really hold the toy, or if you just play a little tug, it's not self-rewarding. It's not, if you have to throw the ball for the dog, then it kind of it breaks the action.
Right.
But there are many toy dogs, and there are many many successful toy dogs.
Right.
So
I've seen some on TV.
Yeah.
Like the ones that do like the avalanche, searching for avalanche victims. I saw one. I don't know if it was on Nat Geo or Animal Planet, but it was on one of those science, lifestyle.
Well, you know what? They're gonna use a toy. The drug detection dogs, the bomb dogs, all of them are going to use toys because it's easier. You have a toy in your pocket. You always have the toy with you. You never run out of it. So that's why it's easier for them. And it's not, if you're a policeman with a uniform, you don't want to have liver in your pockets.
Yeah, really. Every feral dog in the neighborhood following you around.
Right.
Does this work just as well for dogs that, say, have issues with people?
Yes.
Like dogs that bite people and that are afraid of people?
Well,
and what about fearful dogs? What about dogs that are more timid but are still driven?
It works with timid dogs. This is another one. I have a dog that we're working with now who was a feral dog for a while, about 2 years, I think. She was feral for a year. Had I don't know how many litters of puppies. Was caught, and then she's also a Houdini. She got out and she was feral again for another 2 years. So now, now she's finally settled down a little bit, but she's very fearful of people. And so I actually stay out of the ring. Her person stays with her and helps her along. But yeah, and she's come a long way also because she would come in the room and she would see all the people that were in the room and she would just hunker down and, she wasn't really happy with moving and, but, just giving her space and just showing her that she can, because obviously she's got an excellent nose if she was feral for 3 years.
Right. Yeah, sure.
That she could actually do this with people watching her. And she's come along. I have 2 blind deaf dogs.
Really?
Yes.
Blind and deaf?
Blind and deaf.
Oh, this is cool. You got to tell me about this one. That's interesting.
There's a very, very lovely woman who teaches special ed. She teaches deaf children, and she's associated with the Australian Shepherd Club Rescue here on Long Island. And she has a blind and deaf Australian Shepherd, and she has a blind and deaf collie, along with a deaf Australian Shepherd and a hyperactive mix.
Wow. That's a handful.
Yeah.
So tell me, how would you teach a blind and deaf dog how to do nose work? I mean, that's a challenge in itself. I mean, it's a challenge for even professional dog trainers to train just a deaf dog or just a blind dog. But the combination, that's really amazing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
And the really interesting part is both of them have such different personalities. The first one that she started has a very outgoing personality. So this dog, when she comes into a room, she just walks into the room. She doesn't care what she walks into. She just bounces off of it and continues on. So she was quite easy to train because she really wasn't scared. She, like I said, she just walked into a room and she owned it. She didn't care what she stepped on or crashed into. I don't know how many times she crashed into the walls.
Right.
Finally, I said to Kim, please put her on leash, because I can't stand her crashing into the walls. I know it's not bothering her, but it's bothering me.
Yeah.
And again, we started them just like a sighted dog. The boxes, I stick the box under their nose that it has the food in it, and of course we started a little bit closer. I wasn't going to let them have to search the whole room to find it. I started right in front of them, and then maybe put an empty box in front of them, and then the full box behind them, so that and then spread it out. But she is now searching the whole room for odor with very little food. I will probably always keep her on food and odor, only because I know Kim is not going to compete with her. The other dog that she brought in, he was from a hoarder situation. So he was crated most of his life. I don't know how much he got out, but he was crated. So he was fearful. He would take one step to the left, one step to the right, maybe a step forward, maybe a step back, but he was very, very fearful of new situations. And again, we started him the same way for a long time. He had 2 or 3 boxes in front of him. One would have food, 2 wouldn't. Maybe 2 would have food, 1 wouldn't. But they would be very close to him. And then I started moving them further and further away. Well, he's now off-leash, searching the whole room for food and odor.
Wow.
It's been, it's been a while. It's probably been, I'd say, 4 or 5 sessions, which
that doesn't seem like a while. I mean, when you think about
sessions, for him to. But he comes in the room now, and he walks all the way around the room. He'll step on anything. He'll trip over anything. He's pretty good at finding the walls.
Does the indoor work segue into outdoors? I mean, does this become an outdoor sport as well?
Oh, yeah. It's indoors, outdoors. We also do, if you're going to do competitive work, there's indoors, outdoors, and vehicles. So we do car searches also.
Oh, my goodness. That sounds great. Susan, we're almost out of time. I want to let our audience know where they can get you. If you would please share your website one more time with our audience.
Sure. It's www.blueribbondogschool.com.
I want to thank you so much for visiting the show.
Oh, you're welcome. And I just want to blow my horn just a little bit before we go on.
Go ahead.
Ricky, my Rhodesian Ridgeback, is the first Rhodesian Ridgeback in the country to achieve his Nosework 1 title.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, this is awesome.
Yep, and we're striving to be the first Ridgeback to have their Nosework 2 title.
That's awesome.
And we came very close last weekend.
If you're listening to the show, we talk so much about issue dogs and Nosework. I want to welcome everybody back next week to the Dog Super Nanny. We'll be chatting more with interesting people and talking about your dog. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.